Welcome, Mustang fans, to another episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm your host, John Clore.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Ray.
You know, we've always talked about everybody having a Mustang story, and I've had my Mustang story since Auto Week magazine, since the Ford Special Vehicle Team, Ford Racing, even Ford Performance.
And I've had many Mustang stories through my times with Team Mustang, Roush Performance, Celine Performance, and my 20-year career at Moxum, which is the Mustang Owners Club of Southeastern Michigan.
But we want your Mustang story. Tonight we've got a Mustang story you're going to absolutely love, and it's because of this one right here, whose father happens to be Gale Halderman. We are here at the Halderman Museum in Tipp City, Ohio, and of course we love Mustang stories. And Karen, every once in a while, I know running the museum, you have people come in and they tell you a wonderful story about your father. Now, it makes you smile, but what do you do with those stories?
You treasure them.
Because that was your dad.
Right.
And so when we got to meet Carol, and Carol, again, not from Northern Ohio, so the best way to say your last name is not
Ratermann, but Ratermann.
It's Ratermann.
Yes.
See, so it's Ratermann. Carol Ratermann was at an event we had recently, and we were talking about Gale. And Mike, you know how he loved talking to anybody that came to the barn.
Yeah.
And I was telling people about how's Gale's story this, and then Carol came in and she said, "I've got a Mustang story for you."
I do.
So what did I think? I thought about you here on the Mustang Owners Podcast, and if you said, "Man, I wish I ever had the chance to meet Gale Halderman," and how would that be? Well, Carol had a very unique way of meeting Gale Halderman. And Carol, we wanted to hear about it because when you told me, I thought, are you making this up? Now, first of all, you had a 69 Sport Roof.
I did. That was my first car.
And was it your favorite Mustang of all the different designs?
I loved them all. But that first car, you always have that special feeling for. So that 69 was really my love car for sure.
So you loved this car, you had this car, but how did you know that Gale Halderman, who lived in this town, designed that car? How did you ever come up knowing about the Halderman family?
It was really meant to be, I think, because I lived just a short distance from here.
Okay.
Didn't even know anything about this museum. And when I drove by, I used to think, boy, that's such a beautiful place. I thought, there must be landscapers who live here because it's so well manicured. Then I drove by one day, yes, thanks to Karen right here. And then I drove by here one day and I saw the pony on the side of the barn. And as soon as I saw the pony, I was with my husband and I said, those people must really love Mustangs. No idea how much.
It's 15 feet tall.
I don't know how tall.
It's a gigantic aluminum pony on the side.
And of course I fell in love with that when I saw the decals. So I was at a restaurant shortly after that, and the restaurant was in Enon, Ohio, and I was standing there in awe of the first drawing that Mr. Halderman did.
Was it kind of like
Which is, there it is.
Sketch.
That's it.
And let's just tell people a little bit about that, because Gale did frequent some, after he retired, at the local restaurants, and he doesn't, Gale, as you know, Mike, he never bragged about what he did.
Right,
And
never.
If you didn't know him,
Right.
he didn't say, "Hey, I'm the designer of the Mustang." So remember we went to this, you took us there a couple of times. And
I never went with
your
you and
used to-
Dad, but you and I went after Dad.
So we would go with Gale, and we'd sit down again at a special table. He always was holding court, by the way. He has so many friends in town, so we went to this beautiful, what's the name of this place? Carriage
Carriage
Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And they served really great food. And one day I said, this is Gale Halderman. He goes, "I know who he is." And I said, "He did the Mustang." He goes, "I wish I could see that." So the next time we came by, we brought a sketch like that that's how you got to see it.
Okay, great. I'm glad.
And he said, "Oh, I'll put that up." And he goes, No, you put it up. Go ahead and put it up. Because Gale would just sit in the back and order his pork chops.
Right.
And that's how that sketch got into the restaurant. So you go to this restaurant, and
Saw the sketch.
You saw that sketch?
I saw the sketch. And my husband's paying, and I'm standing there just in awe looking at this sketch of this beautiful Mustang that I remembered from so many years ago. And the owner of the restaurant came over to me and he said, "Do you like Mustangs?" And I thought, wow, do I? So I said, "Oh yes, I do." And he said, the designer of that car comes in here every Friday night. He said, "Would you like to meet him?" And I was like, oh my gosh. So of course I said, absolutely. So it was like just a short time after that, we decided on a Friday night we were
you were going to go.
We were going to go
So
immediately.
you become an opportunist.
Yeah, yes.
Carol.
So yeah, that was me.
Come on.
And of course, you know, we go into the restaurant and the owner looks at me and he says, oh, he's here. And I'm looking around trying to think, well, who could it be? Which one is it? Okay. So the owner comes over to me and he says, okay, come over here with me. I'm going to introduce you. So he walks up behind Mr. Halderman, taps him on the shoulder, and he says, Gale, I have someone here that would like to meet you. And he looked up, and I'm just in total awe. And he looked up and so humbly, and he stood up. I grabbed a hold of him. I held on to both of his hands. I don't think I ever let go. And completely had interrupted his meal.
Wow.
And he's standing there just smiling at me and smiling at me and wondering if I was going to say anything or just stand there and hold him.
Didn't you say anything?
Well, not at first. I couldn't.
This is all the
I was
exact same
just-
story how I met him.
You're Gale Halderman.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was standing there like this, but I couldn't even say you're Gale Halderman. And he looked at me and I said, I can't believe I have this opportunity to meet you. I just went on and on and on. And he was so humble. And so finally I was able to spit out a few words. And so as we were talking, then of course I'm still holding on to him. Didn't even realize I was hanging on. And I told him, I said, well, you had to know, stupid thing to even say, stupid question. I said, you had to know Carol Shelby.
Yeah.
And of course he looked at me and as humble as could be, he says, oh yeah, I knew Carol. Well, at this point, I never let go. And, you know, I'm just holding on to him and we had the best time standing there talking.
Doesn't know her from Adam.
Didn't have any idea who I was. And
Walks
he was,
up to him in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're talking Carol Shelby.
Exactly. Who would ever have thought that, you know? And I was just in such awe of him. But the thing that I remembered the most was that he was so humble. You would have never known that he was who he was, that he had accomplished so much and was such a great influence on Ford Motor and that entire era, which was the years I started driving and grew up through. And to this day, I no longer have my beloved 69 Mustang, but I've got a 66, I've got an 83, and I have a 2014.
Wow.
All named. The 66 is Sally, the 83 is Miss Fox, and the other one's Pegasus because of the flying pony.
That's awesome.
So, but I always think of Mr. Halderman. And driving by here now, I live so close by, I always look in, I always admire your work here. And it just does my heart such good to know that he was here.
And that you've got to meet him in person.
Oh,
because,
yes.
Mike, we've met a lot of people at Ford. Some of them you wouldn't want to go have a beer with.
Right.
But Gale Halderman was the least, he was just the least assuming that you owed him anything. He just was happy to be with you and happy to see people happy about that car.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that just, from your experience knowing all these years, all the club events you brought him to, isn't that just him?
That's exactly him to the T. And the only person I know John has met basically anybody you can possibly ever think of in the Mustang industry. The only person I never met in person, I did see in person, but I never met in person, was Carol Shelby. Yeah. Anybody else you can think of? Bill Ford was on my list for a long time, but I checked that bucket list off in the fall. But I'll never forget the day I met Gale. John brought him to the show I ran in Dearborn. And he brought him and introduced him to us, and that was in August of 2013. And we were super close, clicked immediately.
Oh, yes, I can believe it.
And we got to tell John your thing though that you told Gale when he was the first time at Mustang.
My wife told me never to say this.
No, we're gonna have to tell the share this.
All of you on the podcast,
This is a true story.
I was warned by my wife never say this in public. Although when I do speak, I do mention it.
Yeah, it's a true story.
So when Gale, we finally got him to come to Mustang Memories, we had 900 cars. Or was
That was over 1,000 that year.
1,000 cars. So we're at World Headquarters, behind World Headquarters in August after the Woodward Dream Cruise. I invited Gale. Gale shows up. He didn't even call me.
No, this was the year before.
Year before, that's right.
Yes.
So he didn't even call me. And they said, Gale's here. And I went over, Gale, run over there. And Mike is running the show with a couple of his board members. I go, let's go meet Mike. He goes, no, he's busy. Don't bother him. I go, don't bother him. He wants to meet you, Gale. And so, Carol, I just put my arm, and Gale, your dad, was looking over all the sea of, talk about Skittles, every color of Mustang. And he's looking at me, he had a big smile on his face. And I was looking at him, and I go, Gale, Did you ever think that this would happen 50 years later? Look what you've done.
Exactly.
And I said, did you ever think this would happen? He goes, no, we were just drawing a car that I love to draw. And I said, just think, Gale, if you had drawn a turd, no one would be here.
Literally true story. And he
No
didn't
one
say
would be
that.
here. This is done. But Gale had that Gale Halderman laugh. He laughed about it. And then we got to meet Mike. And if you've ever had the chance to meet him, you know what we're talking about. We're exactly how Carol described it. That's the man that Gale Halderman was. So we're just happy that his daughter, Karen, kept this place going, because the memories we have of him show that that's the spirit of Mustang community. That's the true man. The guy who drew the first one and made it all happen is really the true spirit. So if you didn't get to meet him, here's how you get to meet him. You come down to Tipp City, Ohio, and you make an appointment with Karen to walk through his man cave, to be here. You almost feel him here.
Yeah.
You do have a cardboard cutout of him here.
Yes.
And he's in that, got that happy. In fact, I think that was taken at your show.
I was standing next to him in a real picture.
So if you want to meet him and come down and see his museum, it's down here, the Halderman Mustang Museum. You can make an appointment on Facebook and come down and see his man cave and enjoy the Gale Halderman that you, Carol, got to meet.
Absolutely.
That you got to enjoy with him down here at this beautiful place, your homestead.
And Carol, we really feel you, how your story there. Me and John were very lucky. John even more so again than me, but anytime Gale came to Dearborn, he invited me and John out to Miller's Bar, and we stood there for 3 hours talking. Every time we came down here to the barn, we sat here in his little loft and talked for another 2 or 3 hours. So the intimate stories that we heard over the 10 years that I got to spend with them or so, it was absolutely incredible and never forget.
Right.
So Carol had to be on the podcast tonight because her Mustang story is really befitting of the man that we loved, the original design of the Ford Mustang. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol.
Absolutely.
It was
Thank
a
you
wonderful
for having
story.
me.
Yes,
Thank
pleasure
Karen,
meeting
Thank you,
again.
Carol.
You do
Thank
such a
you,
wonderful
Karen.
job with the museum. And you guys, if you're a Mustang fan, get your butt down here and enjoy, feel the Gale Halderman spirit. Mike, another great Mustang story.
Absolutely.
And the hits just keep
Keep
on
on
coming.
coming.
So remember to like and subscribe to the Mustang Owners Podcast, because you got to beat that algorithm, and make sure that you understand that we love having your story. Send it to me if you have one at jclor, C-L-O-R, at carsincontext.com, and we'll love to hear your story and share it like we did with Carol. So until next time, I guess we'll just have to catch you down the road.